Yeah, we're not sure how how we're gonna do the boys' bedroom. We had a triple bunk, so it has a trundle and then bunk beds, and we're not sure what we're gonna do and how many places and what have you. And we still have a crib, so we're not sure how long we're gonna just do the crib. And so we have the trundle in my room right now because it's not in the garage, you know. So mother of 7.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, right. You have 7, right?
I have 6.
6. Okay. Yeah. Okay. 6. We both have a bunch of kids. Um, so, well, I really appreciate you taking the time in your busy schedule, working, of course, Leodell, to meet with me. And let's see, I forget if we're recording on the cloud or if we're recording on this computer. But anyway, it looks like we're recording, which is positive. And thanks for taking the time. Is it your lunch break?
No, I only work till noon.
Oh, okay. Oh, awesome. And then, of course, I'm all jacked up from basketball on my eye, and I think I got hit on the nose yesterday and moving. Yeah, it's definitely sore right there. That hurt. Okay, whatever it was. So I'm super professional. I'm sporting the Lionel Richie today while I'm doing all the moving stuff. You got a great looking tree in your back there. It looks behind you. So
shiny ceiling that we need to paint.
Oh yeah, we're getting our tree today. It's like order number 1. As soon as we're done with this, we're gonna go get lunch, go get a tree, and have it ready to decorate tonight. So it'll be Christmas this week, you know. So well, again, thanks for taking the time, Leodell, and Parker can jump on and be in the video at any point. I know he's under the weather too, but he
feels better than he looks at this point.
Right.
Finally.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. It's the spirit, the spirit in the body here. Flesh is weak. Anyway, so Leodell, I'm going to give a little background so everyone, our parents are going to, the parents of the people in our division, primarily moms and dads in many cases just from Utah, but we have a few coming in actually from, I think we have a couple from Idaho, and a few different places, which is great. And last year you were able to come physically to this meeting, and Parker had not run an office yet. He was just at that point on his 5th month or 6th month on the job, I think. But
he was planning to branch.
Yeah, he was planning on running an office in the summer, at least being in a position of choice at that point. I think he had probably committed and then backed out a little bit and had a few thoughts like that, even at that point in December. And then that continued a little bit until the summer. And then he wound up being your son, Parker, wound up being, and I know we had a couple text exchanges in the middle of the summer too, where, it was just really nice to see your support of Parker. That included when we went to Chicago, and just our exchanges back and forth live, and then also through text at and around the year-end banquet in Chicago, which this year is January 25th and 26th. It's going to be a really super event, and then even the support you gave him through the spring and then during the summer. You were such an awesome Vector mom, and I want to give you that compliment. And yet at this event a year ago, you were still, what is Vector almost, right? And what is this knife job? And so if you could take 5 minutes, and however long you want to speak is totally fine, because I'll build our meeting around making sure we can play the video here. But take as much time as you'd like to share maybe your thoughts that you had last May or June, a year ago, last May or June, 18 months ago, essentially. As Parker started the job, and one of his first customers actually was in my home church organization, our ward in Chicago, Quinn Swallow. I don't know if Parker's ever told you that, but Quinn Swallow was one of his first customers. And anyway, I knew him growing up. He was older than me, still is. But anyways, if you want to share just a little bit of your thoughts going from last May to essentially this night last year, and then even to the year-end banquet, and what your thoughts about that event were, and then through the summer, and any order. And I'm just going to shoot a couple questions to you after that. That'd be fantastic. I'm going to actually write down a few things while you're talking to help me, clarify if anything. But yeah, go ahead and share what your thoughts were and have been.
Okay, so Parker came to us in the spring. He'd been working 12-hour days for 4.5 days a week as a welder, and it was kind of hard on his body. And he came to us he came to us and said, I got a new job. And I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm selling Cutco. And I said, whoa, okay. Sales can be hard. You gonna be okay with that? And he said, yeah, I like it. I was like, okay, do it. Do it then, Parker. Oh, that is what I said. I said, okay, try it out. So I didn't have any concerns. I know that other moms are concerned, get a regular job. And I did ask him how it paid, because he was getting a good paycheck for all of his hours that he was working. So I asked Parker how it paid, and he said, as long as I demo, I get paid. Every time, even if I don't have any sales, I get paid. So that was reassuring, that he had some obligations that he was looking at. So that was good. Anyway, what I have noticed as Parker has sold Cutco is that it has given him an opportunity to grow and advance in his own sphere. So Parker has a lot of control over what he does and how he succeeds. Parker has a lot of mentoring. I didn't realize probably when Parker started that this is a mentor-based business. And that is the perfect model for Parker. So he's had a lot of success with it. Some of the things that have been new to me as he's been selling Cutco, I didn't understand the structure, and he's done a lot of telling me about what's a district and what's a branch and what's a region and he's done a lot of defining for me. So I didn't have a lot of things understanding in that. I didn't understand entirely when he was a assistant branch manager what that entailed and how the pay structure worked and what other things he was supposed to be doing. So, but Parker has been able to see clearly and manage. So that probably was more important than me knowing. Things that have been helpful for me as a Vector mom, I did come to the parents' night, and it was helpful to see another mom's perspective. And her concerns were probably different than my concerns at the time, but it was good to hear them and recognize that other parents would have, like she said, just go get a real job, a regular job, and that I can see how that would be concerning for some other parents. So going to the parent night was helpful for us to just more understand the structure. Meeting with Phil one-on-one was helpful for us as we were preparing for a branch.
I love that link. I love that restaurant.
Yeah, that's right. We had lunch with Phil and had some good information and opportunity just to build a relationship, because Vector really is a lot of relationships, and that's also in the mentoring. That's part of it. We attended the
banquet.
Thank you. The year-end banquet in Chicago, and had a parents meeting in there, and we're able to hear other parents' questions and present our own and get some information and some expectations. So when Parker started to get ready to branch and was starting to get anxious, I was like, okay, they told us this would happen. and having someone who had run a branch say, I cried every day, knowing, what they were under, what Parker was under ahead of time, made it easier to process as he was going through it. So in running a branch, I didn't realize, even as it was happening, I didn't appreciate that meant he had to lease and furnish and plan for a business. He had to recruit, he had to train, he had to manage all of it. And that's running our own business. That's excellent. We want that. We want him to have that experience. So there's just no reason to stop you, stop yourself. If you know how to do that, you can do anything. So those are the things that I've seen that have been helpful to me as a Vector mom. Knowing that other people have Parker's well-being in mind, and that there's a system established that if the kids work within the parameter of that system, they're going to have some form of success most often. And so that was reassuring to me that this has already been planned out. It's been tried a lot of different ways. It's been tried on a lot of different kids in a lot of different areas. And we pretty much have a formula. If we do this, this, and this, we're going to have some success. So that was reassuring too, as Parker was doing his
And
branch.
where did you, if you don't mind me interrupting, where did you, it may not have been one moment, but where did you grasp that concept, or at what point, I guess is the better question?
It was at the year-end banquet. Well, actually, as they were handing out awards to kids, they were saying they did a branch, didn't go so well, you know. and that was reassuring too. And here they are, they're getting awards, they've had success. So even though one,
so they weren't like number 20 in the company, but they were successful.
Right. Well, they were getting awards, and they in the past they'd run a branch and it hadn't been successful. Then they did it again and had success. It was just like the system is there, and the kids will advance. They will grow. They will learn as long as they're applying the system.
Okay, that's really nice to hear. Of course, we promote that to our students, you know, to our kids, your kids, essentially, right? And it's funny, but you know, the job is very much, you know, show up and follow the program, and results do come that are desired, if that makes sense. You anything about during the summer? You know, what were some of the things that you might have noticed about your son, about the results? I know we texted a few times. And if you want to relate any of that, that'd be great.
Parker was working hard. I know he was working hard, and that was good to see that he was engaged and invested, because he put his own money into it. He put his time and his heart into it, and I love to see him invested and paying with sweat for some of the success that he was doing. That was great. That was good. And then to have him, he was seeing big success, and that was heartening. That he, you know, just by checking off the boxes, right, he was doing really well, and so that was exciting for me. Parker had actually really a lot of success, and a couple of times you were in the top.
Yeah.
He was in the top. He was on the national list a lot of the time, I think.
Yes.
And now, knowing Parker is a person who likes to do really well. Parker doesn't like to come in second. So for Parker, I could see that there was some stress inside of Parker. It was like, I'm not first, you know, because I think the first week you were like the first number 2, yeah. And so that set that bar, and I could just feel it on his shoulders. Whoa, yeah. I gotta. But to me, I was like, I don't care. I don't care how you do the whole rest of the time. You hit number 2. Good job. You know. But for Parker, I could feel that there was some weight there. So there was some. Come on into the camera.
Okay. Sorry, there's like workmen on my porch. My dad and my stepmom and my wife and daughter are in the other room making noise, and I got distracted. Sorry. Parker, it sounds like you want to say something.
Yeah, I think the coolest thing about that was that's something that I've always struggled with, is wanting to be number 1, wanting to be the best. And whenever I didn't reach that status that I had in mind for myself, I gave up. I would just kind of shrink into this ball, say, well, I didn't do it. I'm not going to try anymore. And so something that's really interesting about that is that's something that's all through my life, that's something that I've struggled with and something that I've done, whether it be Taekwondo, whether it be, you know, school, whatever it is. If I'm not the best at it, I don't want to do it anymore. I'll just give up. And this forced me to work through that, because that's a bit of a weakness, that I'm naturally good at a lot of things, but I don't want to push. I don't want to grow. I don't want to improve if I'm not naturally the best. And so something that was really cool about my summer that I saw transform was that mentality that I had started to go away. I no longer started thinking if I'm not number one, I don't deserve to be here. And it changed really how I look at every aspect of life. When I look at failure, when I look at hardship, when I look at not being number one, it's all focused towards getting closer and just improving. And I think that's something that's really cool about the branch that I've seen within myself, is just that if I'm not number one, like you were saying, I feel the weight. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not performing, I'm not doing well.
No, it's not that. It's somebody's doing better.
Someone is doing better, exactly. So,
little bit.
it did help me work through that and work past that. I guess it's
Okay. That's really insightful. As you're saying that it's disheartening when you're not like, in the first place spot. The funny thing is you walk into your territory as a new manager. You are the number one person. You are the czar of Cutco in that territory. You're the guru, the Buddha, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, the Jedi master. And no one knows how to do the rep job better than you in that town. And so what you wind up being, and I know you know this and you're kind of nodding your head, you kind of know where I'm going, but you wind up having the number one spot in your territory for the entirety of your career as a manager, whether it's a summer branch, a summer only, or if it's a district office or a district organization. It is a leadership role. And you took that upon you, in a sense, as you trained from obviously being successful at the fundamental level, basic level as a sales rep, and then being in your case, when Emily was going to school for the first time and being a district manager during school. That's not a normal situation, but you were almost promoted to a level that was a pay grade above your level of talent or skill. And I won't say talent, you were very talented at your level of skill at that time. And it was actually a baptism of fire, which I think really did, you went through that challenge as a sales manager, in Provo.
Yeah.
And it was tough. There were the quit moments. Everyone has quit moments. And not just in Vector, you have quit moments sometimes when you have 7 kids, right? Or 6 kids, Leadell, right? You have quit moments when you're trying to learn how to parallel park or do calculus or something, right? We all have our quit moments. And I think you probably went through that phase or that cycle, as a MIT manager in training all through the next 2 semesters, when you were, before you ran your office during the school year. You made it through and you got the chance to run your branch, and to prove that you were number one, or that you were, it's not just the CPO or the sales numbers that happened in our division and what number you ranked amongst the rest of the summer managers, the branch managers, is you were number one to a couple of guys in particular. I'll really quickly mention Austin and of course Jordan, who's going to be in the room, and I think Mom's coming down. Yeah, Mom's going to be here. Jordan's mom's going to be here.
Hi, Jordan's mom again. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, yeah. You've met his mom.
Yeah, I went up to help him.
So you impacted quite a number of people. I came up to your territory. I came up to Idaho Falls, met with about 5 or 6 of your top people. Of course, they had great things to say about you, and you really impacted more than 6 people, but I met with those 6. And it was very apparent the level of impact you had, being in the business only a year more than they had been. They were in the business 2-3 weeks. You were in the business a year and 2 and 3 weeks in some cases. Sometimes branch managers are a year later running an office, sometimes 2 years later. It all depends on the person and the effort that they put into the leadership academy and the leadership training process. What was the most rewarding? Yeah, Leadell, go ahead.
I was going to say that reminded me, your conversation just now reminded me that one of the sweetest moments when Parker was running the branch is he called me late at night. I was actually over at a friend's house, and he called me late at night and he says, "Mom, I need to cry." And I was like, "Oh, prepare for this." Yeah, they told us they're going to cry. Yeah, I got it. Okay, I can do this. And he said, "It's a good cry. I'm changing lives."
Sorry. Parker said what? I the noise. Sorry.
He said, "It's a happy cry. I'm changing lives." That was early on. He knew that people that didn't have a chance, maybe other places, were coming and making a change in their life for the better.
Right. So cool. So cool. And it's a summer only in many cases. And of course, being now 19 years that I've been a manager, and as a district manager, I had a lot of opportunity to be fulfilled, I guess you could say fulfilled, with that process. It's invigorating, and it's, you work in a school, don't you? And so it's invigorating to do that with young elementary school age children. But in the generation that we are working with as leaders in our company, it's fun. It impacts the manager as much as the students and the reps and the people we work with, of all ages and all backgrounds. Yeah, thank you, for sharing that, both of you, and thanks for being that type of person, Parker, because you've grown a lot, and it's been awesome to see. Anything else that either Parker or Leodell would you want to share in general?
I would say if parents are concerned, give it a try. Watch and see. And if I really do believe if a kid will put the investment in, they're going to see results, and it's going to improve their lives. So, and it's going to prepare them to maybe run their own business doing something else later. It's going to prepare them to be successful. The more they can manage, the better they'll do in school, the better they'll do in just life in general. So if you have concerns, try it. Just try it. And if it doesn't work, if it's not, no big loss, right? It's not a huge investment.
Are you telling them to start selling knives? Are you telling the parents to start selling knives, or no?
I'm telling the parents, let their kids do this. Try it.
Okay.
See what happens. Don't be afraid to try it.
Super. And it was awesome to hang out in Chicago. And I remember we had a couple good conversations. You mentioned, I just wanted to revisit that for just a moment. Essentially for parents, well, for you guys, it was quite an adventure because you were the chaperones. You drove there was these ridiculous price flights. And to get us into Chicago in time, you guys did a red eye. You were essentially the minivan drivers, and you were Emily's dad. And you trucked everybody down to Vegas, which is always fun. Fly out, took a red eye, landed. I bought my favorite pizza, and everyone had the pizza. But then we had two events. Essentially, the year-end banquet was Friday night, and that's the 4 to 10 p.m. essentially, roughly, where it's all the recognition, and we also do our promotion. So our branch managers that are for sure running an office. And then the new district managers that are for sure running their new district office in the following summer get promoted on Friday night. And then we, on Saturday, have the kickoff conference, KOC we call it. And we had meetings from 9 to 5 on Saturday, essentially for training and for preparation. But, the parent breakfast was the Saturday morning. And then I think I told you, well, it depends on when everyone flies home. I forget when you guys flew home last year.
We actually we went into Michigan because I grew up across the lake. I went to high school. Right.
And so a lot of times, particularly from our division, it's, we're in Chicago, the hotel's, 45 minutes outside the city, and, we get to that hotel, but then, we get a vector rate to stay an extra night. It's only like, maybe 100, 120 bucks at this hotel. And you went downtown, or no, you went straight to Michigan while we were finishing our conference.
And then we went downtown in the evening.
Okay, cool. And that's it's kind of a fun thing because parents can make it kind of a support son or daughter, and then also hang out in, one of the coolest city in the world where I grew up is,
it really is so beautiful. I forgot how beautiful Chicago is.
It is. And Sunday night football the other night just barely reminded me of that because they kept showing the skyline at night, and it's just awesome. And, it's really fun. And there's a lot of ways to get downtown, of course, and trains and, and of course, 7,000 hour Ubers and whatever, but the train's super fun and super safe actually. And there's, the blue line straight downtown, and you can go to the Magnificent Mile, they call it, in Navy Pier. And depending on when you go, like the parent breakfast ended at like 10, right?
Like yeah, 10. I think we were out of there in a rented car by 10.
Yeah. So the parent breakfast is provided free of charge. And that's the Q&A. That was where if you remember, you said a new manager talked about crying and their experience, and then a mom or parent of someone spoke, and then our financial profit and loss person, right? Adam Stock spoke, and then the region manager did some Q&A, and you had dinner, had breakfast, and then it took off, and it was a fun day. You could fly right home on Saturday, or spend some time downtown and doing whatever. Again, the kids, our people will stay at the hotel and have meetings all day till 4 or 5 o'clock. But then in the evening, everyone can go downtown, which it sounds like that's what you did, right?
Yeah.
So was either one or both of those things, in what ways, I know you already said this, but the year-end banquet was the award ceremony and the promotions. What was your thoughts on that? And then again, the parent breakfast. I know you kind of already said it, but I just want to make sure people that are at this meeting on Friday night here in
Have the context.
Yeah, have a full context and everything. Anything you want to share about that? I know we're doing some stuff.
So as we were watching the awards, it number one, those people who were handing out awards knew who they were handing them to. They knew about that person. It wasn't just a name on a paper that they'd read, 5 minutes beforehand. They knew them. They knew their story. They knew what their challenges were. They knew what they had success in. And I loved that they could say, they ran a branch a couple years ago. Didn't go so well. Tried it again the next year. Still didn't go so well. This year, look where they are, And so that was really hopeful for me to see that it's not a one-time, you try it, you win or you lose.
Right.
It's up to you. If you win or lose, but if you lose, it's not the end. There's still a way to be successful. So that was helpful for me to watch, to see that as a Parker's going into this new unknown thing that is a high stress and even some risk. That was hopeful for me to be able to see that people can do it and try and not do and still be able to turn out successful later on, because that's what life really is. Life really is. You may fail, but you never totally fail until you quit. So that was hopeful for me. And I was impressed to see that so many different people had created so much success, and they'd done it sometimes the hard way. One of the guys that was getting an award didn't have a car.
Yeah,
he was biking.
Started.
Yeah, he was biking to do his sales, and I don't even know what level he was, but it was impressive.
Danny Lewis, yeah. Well, there might have been another person.
No, it was someone who had just reached Hall of Fame $1 million mark.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, that might have been Nick Santiago off the top of my head. Okay, cool.
But it was impressive. That was impressive to me that that somebody who has work ethic could make it happen big, and so that was impressive. The parent meeting, I'm very glad we went to the parent meeting. And the other thing about the evening banquet was that there was free interchange. So there were people interacting, it wasn't like little clusters. Everybody was at a table, but Parker wanted to go over and meet the president. So we did. And that's not something you do in a lot of companies. You don't, he wanted to, and there was access, and that was impressive to me that there was that kind of access. So there was that kind of interchange, and like I said, people presenting the awards, it's district managers who know these kids. They know what they're doing. The parent meeting, I'm very glad we went to the parent meeting the next morning, just because it gave us more context. It gave us a bigger picture of what it was Parker was involved in, and recognized that he was going to be writing a business plan, and that he was going to be doing all of these things that he'd been doing a little bit of as an assistant manager, but all of it on his back. It was helpful to recognize from a young branch manager the stress that the kids were going to be under, and recognize that, I'm not a helicopter mom, so it probably wouldn't have been my mindset to come in and save him anyway, but it was good to recognize that, that's a good place to be. Support, but don't save. Support, how can I help you? What can I do? But you're gonna do this, and I believe in you. It was helpful to listen to the finance guy and knowing that they were going to have somebody that helped them financially with all of the ramifications of the managing the branch, that was a concern for me. And hearing his story, you know, that he'd sold knives, and I remember him saying his dad didn't buy ever even one. Not one.
I didn't even know that.
Sweet, I met a good mom. So that was helpful to know that there would be, you know, just again, it gave me a clear picture that Vector is mentor based, and that is exactly what works for Parker, and I'm sure it works for a lot of people. Cool. But for his personality, that's just exactly having that the trust, somebody that he can trust and go to and say, I can't figure this out, help me, and knowing that he's got a safe place to do that. That's wonderful. Awesome. So that was helpful.
This has been tremendous, and I think that a lot of people will enjoy hearing the story and you know, some of your thoughts. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, and you know, Parker as well. Thanks for taking the time, and appreciate it. Look, so sorry you're not going to be at Parent Night tomorrow night or Wednesday, Friday.
Yeah, sorry.
Hope, you know, I think you're planning, I believe, and you're in banquet in Chicago and stuff this coming January. So it'll be super, and we'll be in touch. Okay.
All right. Thanks. All right. Thank you, Phil.
Okay. Take care. See ya.